The Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I think it is healthy for our democracy that we have a debate about perceptions of conflict of interest in the dealings that we all have as elected members of this House. But what this debate does also prove is that when it comes to a debate like this, hypocrisy does not apparently limit the way in which people offer their thoughts in the context of the debate. Mr Speaker, there is no one better in this House at outlining all sorts of spurious facts, joining them together in a loud, thumping way and making them seem more than they really are than the Honourable Trevor Mallard. It is truly a skill that he has, and I want to acknowledge him for it. But, Mr Speaker, if the opposition are so outraged by finding out from the public sources exactly what Judith Collins was up to on her trip to Japan, why aren't they outraged that their own leader is using, as Mr Peters, his potential coalition partner, said, the law as a device for deception? Because that's what Mr Cunliffe is doing by not telling the public of New Zealand who tipped the money into his leadership campaign. We know it was the Unite Union that's causing the most problem. We know that. But he needs to stand up and admit it. And as the Honourable Bill English said, get out onto the steps of Parliament and tell us who put the money into the trust that the member David Cunliffe used and is now saying he doesn't have to tell anyone about because he's giving it back. Well, Mr Speaker, I think there is a huge lapse on the part of the opposition here when it comes to effectively waving out a flag and saying, oh look, here's what we can publicly see, that's an outrage. By the way, put your head in the sand, pretend you're an ostrich and don't look at the mess that we have got over on our side of the House. Mr Speaker, Ms Collins has said that she felt that, on hindsight, she could have been more open about what she was doing. But in the context of a whole lot of things ministers do, and the public disclosures that are clear because we're having this debate, then, Mr Speaker, I think it is a mock debate that the opposition are trying to mount this afternoon. Mr Speaker, I think it would be useful also for us perhaps to recite all sorts of other situations where members on both sides of the House have got into difficult situations and then try to line them up and judge them. But that doesn't take us anywhere. What's really important here is that this debate would not be happening if it weren't for the demands of transparency that the Right Honourable John Key has put on his ministers. And, sir, it is only because there is transparency that the opposition has a basis for a debate. So, Mr Speaker, I think what we are seeing here this afternoon is a whole lot of outrage from the Labor Party that, sir, has very little basis to it.
I call order. 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 I'm going to call Louise Upston.
Thank you, Mr.